everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. We have a special episode for you today. We have the return of one of our guests that we had a month and a half or so ago. We had seems like an eternity ago.
It feels like 7 years ago and 3 weeks ago at the same time.
Yes. I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Haley Strong is here again. Thank you so much for coming back.
Hi, I'm so excited to be back. I had a great time here last time, so when you asked me, I jumped on the opportunity. I was like, I don't care what movie, I'll be there. Tell me when and where, I'll be there.
Yeah, we really did have a ton of fun talking about The Bachelor, and you host a Bachelor podcast.
I do.
That's right. Yes.
Don't hold that against me, please. I promise I have qualities.
And you've been doing this. What is it that they're doing? The Time of Your Life, or
The Bachelor presents Listen to Your Heart, which is basically, if you are familiar with the Bachelor franchise, it's like if you try to mash Bachelor in Paradise with American Idol and put them all in one mansion together. Like, it's awkward, and I have been loving it. I thought I was going to hate it. We didn't even think we were going to be covering it, but because of the time we are living, I've got literally nothing else going on. Right. So I was like, I need something to track my days, and it's to watch The Bachelor Presents Listen to Your Hearts on Monday, and then podcast mode the next day. I needed some structure to my week, and it's so sad that I had to rely on The Bachelor to do that for me.
Well, hey, we take what we can get these days. We really do.
I mean, that is the tagline of the Listen to Your Heart podcast.
Yeah. Well, so the reason why I thought this would be fun is that I had gone on to Rob as a podcast in during the holidays to talk about a Lisa Welchel movie. And so I thought, it would be really fun to cover a Survivor movie with the finale of Survivor. And we have this wonderful movie from Wyatt Nash. And it's just, who could I have come on to talk about it with me? Because Rob is pretty busy these days. And you're the perfect.
And you're like, who has terrible taste that I could convince to come on this?
Yeah, that's
like,
right.
Oh, Haley. Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
I was more than happy to oblige.
So today's going to be you might call this a bonus, even though we are technically talking Hallmark. It's a little bit bonus. We're talking about, we're going to talk a little bit about Survivor because the finale is tonight. Because if you're new to the podcast, might not know that the whole reason the podcast exists is because of Survivor. That Amber, my original co-host, who occasionally is on the show, she's not as much anymore, but my original co-host Amber and I, we met through Survivor, and both being fans of Rob Has a Podcast, and so there's always that kind of connection of this other thing that we both love, or usually love.
Depends on the season.
Depends on the season lately, but anyways, we're going to talk a little bit for a second about Survivor this season, and then we'll get into Like Cats and Dogs, the incredible film starring former Survivor Wyatt Nash. So this has been a pretty epic season 40. It's Winners at War. They bring back all winners, winter season. I mean, this is a fabled, most dreamed about, people talked about all winter season for so long, speculated about it.
I don't think anyone thought this was ever actually going to happen.
Yeah.
And then when the rumors started swirling last summer, when the cast was about to fly out for season 40, and we're like, oh, this is happening. And I was so excited until we got to the first episode, and my absolute favorite ever, Kim, was in trouble. I was like, no. Everyone I love is going to get voted out. And I love a majority of the cast. And I was like, oh, no, this is going to be pain every single week. And it has been.
Yeah.
I think I nearly cried when, spoiler, Ethan got voted out like early on. I was like, no, why are they doing this to me? He has to win.
Yeah, all the old school players got voted out pretty early, which is disappointing. And yeah, I mean, I guess, so have you loved the season? I mean, it's been painful, but has it been a still one of your favorites, or I don't know?
I don't know if I would rank it in my top 10 favorite seasons, and if I had to like sit down and write a list of them, I don't know if I could do that in this moment, but in my heart, it's not at the top. But I am enjoying it. I am having a good time watching it. I think the gameplay is super interesting, and I don't actually hate the introduction of the fire tokens as much as I thought I would. And I think Edge of Extinction is good in this very specific set of circumstances, which is there's 20 people I want to keep seeing on my television, and it's a great way for me to be able to do that. I think it would have been an absolute sin if we only got one episode of Natalie for the entire season and then like that was it. So I'm glad we've gotten a whole season of Natalie Anderson. Like, what a joy that has been. And I think it's pretty cool that everyone who was on the season is, except Sandra obviously, is going to be a member of the jury. They're all people who've made it past the merge, right? Like I'm glad that they are able to be a part of the whole game.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you are going to do Edge of Extinction, which it's well documented, I hate Edge of Extinction, but if you are going to do it, this is the season to do it. It's the one that makes the most sense as far as dramatically, and at least this time that they're doing it, they're actually giving things for the people to do. I mean, that was the other thing that irritated me so much. You have this person coming back who ends up winning because he has an idol, and and he hasn't even been playing the same game as the other players, which seems so unfair to me. I still think that's unfair. And
I totally agree, but I like at least here that you have to be able to buy idols, and I guess it's not super fair for the people who have lasted a long time and don't get to take their fire tokens into the Edge of Extinction, so they don't have a chance to buy an advantage or, and whatever. So it's not my favorite thing ever, but at least this season I care about the people who are on Edge of Extinction because like I have a pre-existing relationship with them.
Yeah.
Where the last Edge of Extinction season I was kind of like, I don't care that much.
They gave us no sense of getting to know this. Like, it's mind-boggling because it's an edited show, so they could have done whatever they wanted to get us to know this person who ends up winning the game, but they did nothing.
It was so absurd.
I was so mad. I mean, I cried. I was so mad, and it was an affront to everything that is the game of Survivor.
Yeah,
it really was. I mean, and they didn't give him anything to do. They were just sitting on the beach. He won. Yeah. He won for playing for like 5 days. It's
it's something else. It's I try not to look deeply into the editing at this point, but I've been watching reality television for how old? Yeah. I've probably over 20 years at this point. Like, it's embarrassing. I am like under 30 and I've still been watching reality television for over 20 years. It's been my life.
Yeah.
Which is so sad. And I've been analyzing The Bachelor for like 6 years now. And when you're putting a critical eye on reality television, it's hard not to pick up on the cues of the editing. And I find that even watching like various TV shows with my boyfriend, who is a new watcher of reality television. He really only started watching stuff when we started dating. And so I can say to him, be like, this is probably what's going to happen. He's like, well, how do you know? I'm like, you can see it in the story.
I mean, but it's not like Big Brother where they're doing as they go along.
Yeah.
They had that whole season. They knew what the ending was going to be. This is season 38 we're talking about. That they had that whole season. They knew that was the ending, and that's what they decided to do.
We went into the final tribal being like, there's just no way Chris can win because we didn't see anything from him. Not even like an Edge of Extinction confessional. We've done nothing. It doesn't make any sense. And
it was the worst. It was an absolute affront to everything that the game stands for. I was completely outraged, and I mean, so at least for this game, I felt like they actually gave them something to do. They weren't just sitting there on the beach, like, what? And so it was definitely way better, even if it took up too much time. And hurt some of the drama that you want for the main show. And you're kind of thinking, here's all these people that I wish were in the game. Like that, you're glad that they're there, but you're also kind of it sort of hurts the momentum for the players that are there in a way.
Sure, absolutely.
And so, but we ended up we have Ben, Denise, Michelle, Sarah, and Tony, our final 5, plus the person coming back from extinction. And hopefully they will make it very hard for that person to win, because that would be very frustrating. But anyway, we'll see how that turns out. But anyway, how do you feel about this final 5?
Obviously, if I had to handpick a final 5, I don't think this would be it. I do love Michelle and I do love Denise, and I think Tony has been a very exciting player, and it's just mind-boggling to me that he's made it this far again.
I know.
And coming out of Game Changers, it was almost hard to understand Sarah's game, and I think she played it a pretty similar way this time around. But we saw more of it, which I really appreciate. So I have a new appreciation for her game. And I think if she won, it could be like a fairly satisfying win. But I have a hard time looking at things from a completely objective standpoint. Like, I'm very biased. I love Michelle. If she doesn't win, I'm going to be devastated now because I just have like personal, like, I just like her. So I want her to win. And I get that she probably hasn't played the best game. I think she's tried, but she has been on the wrong side of the vote a lot of the times. And for me, that's hard to justify a win if you didn't really know, if you didn't have your hand on the plot most of the time. But I think a lot of people giving her their fire tokens is a great sign for her jury management skills. And I think people would be happy to vote for Michelle because they like Michelle.
Yeah, I think that in general, people like her and they would vote for her. I think that really, I mean, Denise, if she makes it to the final 3, I think she will win.
I love Denise, and I would be so happy with the Denise win.
Yeah.
The only person I feel like if they won, I would be disappointed is Ben, because I just, I feel like watching this season completely dismantled his original win, if that makes sense. Like, it's just like, oh, he had to rely on some other things than a social game. He hasn't been super well liked, and it seems like he's making a lot of wrong moves. He's being blinded by just irrational hatred for some reason. And I like Survivor for the social game. I find it very interesting to see the way all of these people interact. And I think that's a reason why a lot of the times I'm drawn towards dating and relationship shows. I'd like to see how those dynamics form. And I think that applies for Survivor and Big Brother and a lot of these competition reality shows. I like to see the relationships.
I mean, that's the fascinating thing, because nobody wins the same way. Each season ends up being different, and that's why it's especially frustrating when they add these sort of artificial shenanigans that ruin the core of what makes the game good. So it ends up being frustrating to us that have been fans for a long time,
especially in a season like this where I feel like a lot of people would have loved to get back to its core. I think an interesting twist on this season could have been One World, just have everybody live on the same beach and have at her. But I did enjoy this. I did have a good time watching the season. I was during some episodes during Tribal, like up in my living room pacing, like, oh my god, what's happening?
Yeah, no more whispering though at Tribal. No. It's so annoying.
Or at least give us a closed caption so we know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Because it ruins the dynamic of like Jeff being sort of this wild card figure of kind of what is he going to say, what he's going to do. So that's always a lot of fun, and I hate it. I hate the whispering, and I was also very annoyed this season because so Sandra deciding not to stay on Exile, she's not quitting. She's making a very reasonable decision.
I agree with you. That is a function of this game.
Yeah.
She was voted out.
And she's just being honest. Like, the chance of her winning on Exile Island is very small.
Yeah.
And why would you want to go through all of that if for a minuscule chance of making it the rest of the way? I totally get it. I don't think it's quitting. That really irritated me. The people said that.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. It was not a quit. I don't would you consider in the Edge of Extinction season like Wendy and Keith quitting?
No.
I don't know. That's Edge of Extinction is a function of the game in which you can stay or you can go. I think what people got caught up in is last time you had the option to say yes or no. Where in this one it didn't seem like you had the option, we didn't visually see the option of whether you can stay.
Oh yeah.
And I think that might have been the little cog in people's brain, be like, well, then she quit. She she could put the flag up at any time. That is a function of Edge of Extinction.
Yeah. So if Tony wins, is he the greatest ever?
I don't know.
I mean, his first one was so unlikely, and he pulled it off.
I think
now to win against all these other winners, and it's still pretty unlikely.
It's definitely. Oh gosh, is he the greatest? I don't know. It really depends on what you define as greatest. Is he the greatest? I don't know. Maybe, I guess. I haven't really really put much thought into it.
His game
definitely
has been
exciting.
I think his game has been excellent this time. And still so entertaining, so fun. So I am to admit I'm pulling for him. I think it would be such a fun. I just love the guy. I think he's great.
Yeah, yeah, he's a lot of fun to watch. I'm so glad he made it this far in the season.
Yeah.
I was actually on one of the Rob Has a Podcast preseason podcasts in which we talked about Natalie, Jeremy, Sarah, and Tony, and I said man, it would be fun to see Tony go far, but what is that path like? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense for him to be not voted out first.
Yeah.
And here he is, finale.
And he's done so well. And I also yes, Adam did a good job. He was fun, but in the whole patron group, it was way overkill. The people were saying he's one of the top 10 characters to ever play the game. I'm like, calm down. I mean, yes, it was funny. He thought that the thing was the on the whatever you call that was an idol, but I don't know. I'm really not feeling him the way that everybody was talking. I'm like, calm down.
Again, I think it's because Adam is so close to the community. He feels like one of us, and so I think people are going to give a lot more stock than maybe he.
He was fine.
I love Adam. I think he's great, and I think he'd be a great hang. But but are you putting him in the top tier of characters with Tony? I just don't think that's the case.
No way.
But do you want to hang out with Tony? I don't know. That would give me a lot of anxiety. He's just so much.
I know.
But I want to hang out with Adam. He's fun.
Yeah.
And not necessarily chill, but on the same wavelength, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there been anybody else when we'll move on, but has there been anybody else that of these winners that has surprised you, either not played as well as you'd hoped or played better than you hoped? Any surprises?
I of course hoped Kim would just steamroll. And her back was against the wall a lot, and I think she made some errors, and I just don't know what she could have done, honestly. Right at the beginning, I feel like she just was on the wrong side of the numbers and never really picked it back up.
And she was actually my winner pick also.
Yeah.
And she just got that stupid poker pack thing.
Yeah.
And could never quite dig out of it, I felt like.
My dream alliance was Kim and Sophie. So I'm sad they weren't able to just bring it together and really play together, but I did have a good time watching Sarah and Sophie together. Those are just two unlikely people for an alliance in my eyes, and I thought they worked really well together. And
we'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast, are the good folks over at Sundance Now. This is an amazing streaming service that you can have. We have a pre-packaged world when it comes to TV. We're spoon-fed reality junk. That Certainly know
I know
that,
what
right?
that's like.
Yeah. Competitive dating shows and singers behind masks. There's so much of it. But we need stories with thought behind them. You can only have so much. You agree?
You know what? I do need to take a break from
Yes.
my reality TV
Yes.
once in a while for some wonderful series and storytelling.
Don't you want something good for your TV soul? I know I do.
Yeah, you know what? I don't, it's that I don't know that I want it, but I need it. I
Yes.
need that kind of thing.
And this is the perfect time to get Sundance Now. Sundance Now is an ad-free streaming service created by AMC Networks for people who appreciate thought-provoking storytelling and fresh perspectives. If meaningful shows are your escape, then Sundance Now is the destination. Sundance Now offers true crime series, dramas, thrillers from all over the world. Their original series, McMafia, State of the Union, and The Cry have received international praise and awards. You can stream Sundance Now on all your favorite devices. Just download the app or watch online and discover exclusive shows from around the world instantly. And one of the things that the Hallmark fans will really enjoy in Sundance Now is they have an entire section of romances. So perfect, including you can watch the latest version of Wuthering Heights, which is all kinds of drama. And so there's some really, really, really good stuff that people will really enjoy. Sundance Now is available for as low as $4.99 a month. So a steal, great price.
That is an excellent price.
Yeah, for award-winning content. And right now you can get Sundance Now, your new streaming obsession. Go to sundancenow.com, use promo code Hallmarkies. That's sundancenow.com code Hallmarkies for 30 days of free streaming. sundancenow.com code Hallmarkies. All right, well, let's talk about like cats and dogs. So it's pretty fun. So this movie stars Wyatt Nash, who we in the Survivor world know as Matt Elrod, who played Survivor on season Redemption Island, which is the big shining season for Boston Rob. And I guess, I don't know, he seems like he just wanted to completely start anew. He had all that time spent on Redemption Island.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm going to change my name.
So weird, right? I don't know what it is, but it just like, it just kind of weirds me out for some reason.
Yeah.
On his IMDb page, I guess Wyatt is his middle name, but where did Nash come from? Is he from Nashville or something?
I don't know. Does it say in his biography at all? Or there is no biography?
Yeah. Birth name is Matthew Wyatt Elrod, but adopted the name Wyatt Nash, his middle name, plus Nash for his birth city, Nashville, is his stage name.
Oh. It's a pretty good name.
It's
a pretty solid name, Wyatt Nash.
Do you think he did it exclusively because he didn't want his acting career tied to Survivor?
I think so. I mean, that's just a guess.
I think so too.
Yeah. I guess it makes sense because there is a certain degree of stigma still about like reality TV people.
Yeah, for sure.
Making the transition over. And he's built himself a nice little career.
I'm very impressed by his IMDb page.
Yeah. I mean, he's on Riverdale. He was in Ford v Ferrari, small role last year.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy. I do remember my dad is a big fan of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and I was watching it with him one day, and I was like, that guy looks super familiar. Why? And it turned out to be Matt Elrod. I was like, the story checks out here.
He's on Glow, which was on the FX, I think. It was Glow,
Netflix. I thought it was Netflix.
Oh, it's Netflix. Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah. And
I didn't watch any of these things.
I haven't either. But hey, I mean, I've watched Ford v Ferrari, but
this one is hilarious to me. Flowers in the Attic 2, Petals on the Wind. Now, that Flowers in the Attic was a book I never read, but I did work in a library as a teen. So I read the back of a lot of V.A. Andrews novels and was just like, wow, people are into this kind of stuff, I guess.
They're hardcore. Yeah. And he was on the epic film for Hallmark, The Bridge Part 1 and 2. So much that it had to be separated into 2 parts. So
why is it such an epic movie? Tell me more.
It's you can watch the Robin did a whole podcast all about it, about The Bridge,
amazing.
Part 1 and 2. Yeah, and it's the woes of the bookstore that's being driven out of existence, and the family, and Faith Ford is in it, and uh and he has a
Was she in
romance.
Hope and Faith? I loved Hope and Faith.
Yeah, no, I love Faith Ford. Ted McGinley is in it. It's all kinds of drama.
That's hilarious. You know,
Yeah.
I was talking with my boyfriend recently about what a plot point bookstores are in movies, because I made him watch You've Got Mail
Uh-huh.
and Notting Hill recently, and he's like, "What is with these bookstores? Like, no one even goes to bookstores anymore." I'm like, I'm gonna have to check out the
Well, I
bridge then.
mean, in fairness, those movies are pretty old.
Great point. Great point.
But yeah, I mean, that is the ironic thing about You've Got Mail is that now it's the Fox store, the big store, that would be hurting and doing bad these days,
Yeah.
compared to the little store, which might actually have sort of a niche following, kind of a thing. But yeah, I mean, the thing that makes You've Got Mail the best out of any of those kind of films is that she actually loses the store. There's so many save the whatever movies for Hallmark or romantic comedies or whatever, and they're usually not very good because there's no stakes, because you don't believe for a second that the store or the farm or the whatever it is actually
right.
going to close. But in You've Got Mail, it actually did, and she has to deal with it, and she has to figure out a whole new career and what she wants out of her life, and that makes it so much better. And so anyway, but the bridge, it gets pretty tense. Bridge part 1 and part 2.
That's wild that there's 2 parts of that.
Yeah. and I guess they released the first part and at Christmas, and they were going to wait until the whole next Christmas to release part 2, and people were so upset about it, and they wanted to know how it was all going to turn out, that they relented and released it over Easter. They were like, we're gonna give you part
serious?
2. Yeah.
I thought it was like released afterward. Yeah. Oh my God.
Which is hilarious. Like, fine, we'll give it to you.
Yeah, and you know what? I did love that this movie was a really springy feeling movie, and I did do some light research on this movie, which I don't usually do for God anything. And I did see it was like a spring release. There was like 4 movies last year, the year before.
So Spring Fever. This was 2017. Spring Fever.
Because when I think of Hallmark movies, I think Christmas,
of course.
That's what so I did like the spring feeling. Something else I found in my research was that star of Like Cats and Dogs, Cassidy Gifford, is the daughter of Kathy Lee Gifford. I was like, oh my God.
Yes, that's right.
Wild. Some light nepotism in the Hallmark world, eh?
Yeah. And it's directed by Ron Oliver, who is a king of directors for Hallmark. He has done many films for them, and I guess it's also co-written by him. And he usually he's a very classy guy. He's a great Instagram follower. If you want to follow him, he's very entertaining in his posts, and I think he does bring sort of a class, a style to the movie that's fun. I think the movie kind of clips along at a pretty nice little pace. And overall, I enjoyed it. I think it's a cute movie. What did you think overall?
I would say I liked it. I didn't love it. When I was on the podcast last time, we talked about Reality of Love, and I loved that movie for some reason. Where this, it just felt very by the book, and I knew it was going to happen. And I think that's fair, and you get into these movies knowing that's what it is. I just had some questions about some of the legalities of what was going on in the movie, maybe.
Yeah. We'll talk about all of that.
I had some serious questions. I'm like, is this legal? Like, what if someone got murdered?
It's by no means an all-time classic, but it was a fun little watch.
Sure, it was a nice to put on like in the afternoon, have a great time watching it.
Yeah.
Another thing I noticed in my research was that there is some discrepancy over what the lead woman's name is in the movie, because I've read Laura, I've read Laura, and I've read Lola. And I will admit, for a majority of the movie, I did think her name was Laura until the art show on the spoiler for those who are like watching alongside, watching the movie alongside listening to the podcast for some reason. When she gets the art show and like they have her name on the poster board, I was like, okay, it is Laura.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so bad with all of these Hallmark movies. Most of the time, I'm just like, that's Wyatt Nash and Cassidy.
Yeah,
I don't even care. Like, oh, Cassidy went over there. Okay, good. But yeah, no, that's true. And so basically, the setup of the movie is that Cassidy owns a dog named Frank, and Wyatt Nash owns a cat named Mozart, and they both rent for 2 weeks this house on a lake in I forget where it is, in a vacation town place.
It felt very like New England to me.
Yeah. And they show up, and turns out they both rent the same place, and there's nowhere else. There's no hotels. There's nowhere else to go. And they get there, and they see a whole wall of couples on the wall. And
oh, it didn't even clue into me what that was.
Oh, really? Yeah.
No, not at all. I think I have like some light face blindness.
Yeah.
Because it was just like, oh, it's just the same couple over and over, but it wasn't.
It's the one thing that's so funny about Hallmark movies is that they love photographers. Next to bakers and like chefs, photographers is the most popular career for a woman to have.
This was just a hobby though at first. She wasn't going to show anyone her photos.
Even better. Even more romantic, I guess, more idealistic, that she's like a photographer but doesn't really realize it, and then comes to understand her artistic value through the course of the film. That's even better than her being a photographer to start out with. So yes, so she's a photographer. She's just there to visit her friend. So I mean, there's a lot of things that are a little bit weird if you think about it. First of all, why would she get a house that big just to go visit her friend for 2 weeks? That's pretty plush, pretty nice. Like I'd be getting like, as a single person, I'd be getting like an Airbnb 1 room with like a little burner. I'm fine.
I would be like, can I not stay with you? Like, if you came to visit me, you could stay with me. Why can't I just stay with you? Like, I don't care.
Well, she ends up sleeping on the smallest sofa known to man. So maybe that was the problem.
Yeah, like they had already made their spare bedroom into a nursery. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Can't throw a little air mattress in there.
Yeah.
Why are you going for 2 weeks? That seems like a long time.
Very long time. Yeah. So there's things that are a little bit interesting, and his side makes more sense.
A total sense. This is great. I love this from him.
Because he's writing his dissertation about the science of love. And he's sent by his girlfriend to go to the house to write his dissertation. And so it's like, okay, that's a little, I've heard of people doing that. Just writing dissertations is hard, whatever. But yeah, I mean, it is kind of hilarious that they give him this.
But you bring your cat to that? Like, I can't bring your dog. I feel like a lot of Airbnbs would be a lot more welcome to people bringing their dog than bringing their cat.
Yeah, I'm not I don't own any, so I don't know that. Do you have animals?
I have a cat.
That's interesting. Why are cats more sort of high maintenance in general?
I got a cat because I find them more low maintenance. I'm like, I like cats and dogs, but I find myself leaning towards cats. Cats, you can kind of just, if you wanted, you could probably just like leave a bowl of food out for 2 weeks and be like, have a great time, see you in a few. Like, you wouldn't do that. Pet activists, please do not at me. I would not do that. But it's easy. Like, it's easier on to vacate.
Okay, that makes sense.
But I think people would be nervous that they'd like scratch the furniture or something. I don't know. I just find the world is a lot more accepting to dogs than cats.
Yeah.
Like, I want to walk my cat around the neighborhood, but people would judge me for some reason.
So what do you think of of Wyatt Nash's character. He starts out, he's got more luggage than her. He is only eating raw.
I just
he
have
has this girlfriend named Susan. He loves
nobody
records.
in any movie has ever married a Susan.
Right.
Not even in Desperately Seeking Susan, which I'm not sure is a movie or a TV show.
It is. But I think it's Madonna. Is the
okay?
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, he loves his record player and his classical records.
It felt very flat to me for the first. How long was this movie? Like an hour and a half?
It's about an hour and 22 minutes.
Yeah, for the first hour, his character felt very flat to me.
Yeah.
It was very much like, pizza? Well, I could never eat pizza. Oh, when I go to the grocery store, I meal plan.
Yeah, like, you're such a weirdo.
And she's
How dare you order pizza?
She's
what
like,
is wrong with you?
I meal plan. Sometimes I get Thai. Sometimes I get Indian. Sometimes I get pizza. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, so she's like the free spirit because she only has one thing of luggage. She orders pizza.
And she works for her parents' accounting firm, but like that's not like her thing.
Yeah.
She doesn't know what she wants to do, and she feels so much pressure because her parents love each other. Like, girl, that's not how that works.
I know.
And she's like, no, you don't get problems from that.
She's que sera, sera, sera.
And she's like, I can't be in a relationship. My parents are in a healthy one, and I don't know how to deal. It's like, what are you talking about? Where like Spencer's character, that made sense. He was like, I'm very straight-laced because my parents were not, and I am like course correcting by getting a PhD because my parents couldn't like live in one place.
Yeah. So we find out, so the owner of this house, Ellen Davis is her name. And Ellen, she made them fill out this very elaborate application in order to stay at the house. Wants to know their favorite colors, their favorite. And I guess maybe she would put them together because they're like an opposites attract kind of a thing, but on the surface you're like,
both love Casablanca though.
Plus, like, isn't it kind of a risk, the fact that he's with another person and is in an established relationship?
There's a lot of risks here. None of which were considered.
Yeah, I mean,
he has the demeanor of a serial killer, and you cannot tell me he doesn't.
No, he totally does.
I love records, don't you? Oh, I am studying love. I love you, Susan. I only eat raw foods. Like, you seem like you stabbed someone before.
Yeah, like everybody in Hallmark movies is that way, though. I do have to say that I always say there's the Hallmark or horror. That if you had a different score, it would be a horror movie. And it's like on How I Met Your Mother, they have this thing called the Dahmer versus Doppler, and in Doppler in Say Anything, he stands out with the boombox playing music for her. But if you didn't like him, that would be creepy and weird in a horror movie, right? It would be Dahmer, Jeffrey Dahmer. And that is true about all romantic comedies.
Great point. Yeah.
But he is pretty
exceptional.
He lays it on pretty thick here.
And like also they have to stay in the same house together. Like the only time I've ever stayed in the same house with strangers was when I signed up for university residence, and they were strangers for one day, and I still had a separate room that I could lock the door. Yeah, although the bathroom schedule seemed similar. I mean, you have to schedule your bathroom time with one other person, and also that person's only allowed 3 bathroom visits per day.
Well, also, there's absolutely no way this giant house would not have had a master suite.
Or like a half bath at least. Like, there's no powder room here.
That same bathroom.
Come on, Ellen, you couldn't have put one powder room in this house.
I know.
You're rich and we know it. You own an art gallery, but you can't buy one toilet and one sink from IKEA.
Right.
It's not that expensive.
Right. Yeah. So there's lots of questions about Ellen and
just endless questions. Usually I'm pretty good at suspending my disbelief and just like getting lost in the movie.
Yeah.
But here there's just so many things where I'm like,
Yeah, because
it's
a classic romantic trope to have two people stuck together that don't want to be together and then end up falling in love. So that's classic. But the fact that they added this sort of matchmaker element to it is pretty
she's done this before. This was not and she like pretend, you know, I'm fine with Spencer, I am fine with Laura. Ellen is the real sociopath here.
I think so.
This is not the first time she's done this. She has on multiple occasions taken money from people and then put them in this same little house and been like, oh, what an accident this is, my friends. Oh, guess there's nowhere else in town. Guess you have to stay. Oh, yeah, of course I'll refund half. Oh, my God. Like, of course. Like, one person gets a little stabby.
House. She's 100%. She's confident in the magic of the house. That's the key.
Because unfortunately for Ellen, her husband has died. I'm very sorry for her loss. And she couldn't live in the house anymore. So that's why she rented it. Mm-hmm. She promised her husband that it would always be filled with love. So then she sets up strangers who might not want to be set up in this house.
I mean, frankly, I would have made it like a more of like a beach cottage as opposed to this like swanky new, really nice, like it doesn't really quite make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't have that like built with their own two hands and like a love story vibe.
Yeah, like an English cottage that they have to like
like give me an ocean view. Maybe there was. And I've also been playing a lot of Sims lately because I am out of work because of COVID. So at least in The Sims I have a job. Yeah. But I recently bought the expansion pack, Sims Cats and Dogs. And I was playing that while watching this movie, and it was like a weird thing for me because this movie had like such a spotlight on cats and dogs, and so did this like one aspect of the game. But the neighborhood that comes along with Sims Cats and Dogs, sorry, this is like out of, it's very similar to this like seaside town. So I was like, am I playing this movie right now? Maybe I should make that like a little family. Be the setup person.
I think it'd be good. Yeah.
Anyway,
she's also a lot. I mean, if
very pushy. She has an agenda and she wants.
She does, and if you are trying to make this situation work, where you're staying with this person, listen to your headphones. Come on. And she's like, "Oh, I don't like headphones." I'm like, what are you, 11? Like,
yeah, like let's all try here. Let's all just make an effort.
He's trying to write his dissertation, for goodness sakes.
And you're just like hanging out because you can't deal with the accounting anymore, that you could take a vacation. I'm very perplexed.
I also don't understand why they immediately decided to go shopping together. I mean, I would like still buy my own groceries if I was in this situation.
Why would they be like, all right, let's pick what we want and like split? It's like, I don't know you.
I know. I'm not getting my own milk. I'm getting my own stuff. And
I'm buying 45 frozen pizzas if I want to because it is on my bill.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, don't tell me what to do, Spenny.
And she has the audacity to get the ingredients for s'mores. And he's like, those chemicals.
What a plot point s'mores was somehow.
I know. And even
don't get me wrong, I love s'mores.
Susan sees the s'more stuff and she's like, oh.
She's offended by chocolate. Chemicals.
What is happening? Yeah.
Susan needs a break. Yeah. I think
Susan needs a s'more. That's what she needs.
Were they felt like siblings to me.
Susan
and Spenny.
And Spenny. It was just, that was the
why were her parents so involved in this?
Because they're like funding his dissertation or something weird. Like her parents, I think, were paying for the house for him to be there. I think it says at the beginning. Maybe I'm wrong.
But weird and interesting, I guess.
And then
so they sent him on a sex vacation.
I guess.
Listen, Spencer, we know Susan's, a tool. Why don't I send you to this murder cottage so you can make out with a hottie.
Yeah.
He is very free-spirited.
He says that she tosses her hair all the time, walking around the house, being all cute. I'm like, what?
Oh my God. There's just so many things where I'm just genuinely and deeply perplexed.
What did you think of strange person Tyler? He was another.
Oh my God. Does the person who like writes these movies, do they like men at all? Or do they hate them? Because it feels like they hate them.
I don't want to speak for Ron Oliver. I don't know. I mean, it's written by a man, so
I guess
he's a gay man, but I don't know what that says.
Yeah, but Tyler sucked. Hey, whatever your name is.
He was such a weird character.
What happened to that guy who you were living with who sucked? How did the baby shower go? Did it ruin everything as you planned? Okay, and thank you, Haley, for bringing me to that point. So you're just gonna plan a baby shower in like 4 days and just invite everyone?
It's not even that. She's staying over there that night. And she's like, her friend's like, well, why don't you plan
single run?
Why don't you plan the baby shower? Yeah. And she manages to get all those balloons up and all this stuff. Like that was and getting their friends to come out. Like those friends were ready to go for instant baby shower.
They were just like on the horn, like waiting. It was like, I don't know. It just, the baby shower is this day. We just don't know where it is. Yeah. Like we'll tell you the morning of. And then like, there's nothing in this rental agreement about not throwing a party. Cause like, I feel like there should be.
Yeah. I mean, especially if she wants her plans of them getting together to work out. You don't want to have a party. She should have a lot more limitations of what they can do personally. I mean,
I felt very anxious during this part. I felt very bad for Spencer. I hate when my things get broken. It makes me very sad. And because she breaks, sad for him in this moment.
The record player gets broken with the record
anymore.
No, and he says, "You hate planning, and I hate surprises. There's nothing to work out." So it's pretty tense.
Oh my gosh! Just two people who can never be together. One who loves planning and one who loves surprises.
And this is, I'm going as far away from this house as possible.
So like
going to her friends, basically.
Oh yeah, okay.
But then they find Mozart and Frank under the bed, and they decide, you know what?
This turned real fast. This turned
if so they can get along,
yeah,
we can get along.
I mean. I will say I find often in these movies, like the man is like the chill, cool dog owner and the woman is like the uptight cat owner. So I like the switch there.
Yeah.
Why are cat owners always portrayed as uptight? Like we're fun, man.
Yeah, that's true. And you hardly ever have cats in movies anyway. I don't know. Maybe they're just more difficult to have on set. I
would guess that. Yeah.
But I did think that this movie had like a little bit of comedy in ways that you don't always see in Hallmark movies. I
laughed. There was a couple parts I laughed. Can I remember those parts? No, I can't.
No, but just like points in the dialogue, and I give that probably credit to Ron Oliver because he's good at that. It kind of them squabbling. I thought there were some funny parts, and just some I don't know, just some pretty fun banter back and forth between the two of them. And then I also thought that it was nice they had like a really pretty early kiss for this movie.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times Hallmark movies, it's the last 30 seconds of the movie. That's the only kiss you get.
No, we built up to this a little more. I also got very anxious when he was lying to his girlfriend. I have a hard time not being anxious watching like every movie ever. And when she showed up, I was like, oh no, she's in the shower. She's nude. She's nude. She's gonna come out.
But yeah, so they see the dog and the cat getting along, so they're like, we should get along. And so then they're exercising together. He's like making his green drink and she's drinking it. And so things are just so good.
Yeah, you know what? That was cute. I like that.
She
got more into photography.
Yeah.
And
her first portrait of a human is of him.
But then she goes like over the line by taking pictures of like children that she doesn't know. which I think is maybe like not where you should be going with this.
But she gets him a new record, and
very cute.
And she says, "You don't," and he says, "You don't just hear the music, you hear the heartbeats." That was pretty good. Yeah. And so then they dance to Stardust, and it was pretty fun.
And then so now I'm at what point? So this is when the girlfriend comes in, when Susan arrives, and then he leaves with Susan, and then she's just kind of like left by herself, right?
Yeah. So yeah, basically, I mean, so Wyatt Nash, he tells Ellen that it's the best thing that's ever happened, and he finishes the dissertation. He's super excited. The chemistry of love. And
he gets it now. He understands the chemistry of love.
That's right. And that's when Big Mouth Tyler says, "Hey, did you did you finally get rid of that cat guy?"
Whoever calls somebody a cat guy
with the baby shower. Yeah. So Tyler was a total dweeb. He really was a buzzkill.
And then like he was okay. And again here, I feel like Spencer stormed out, and I thought he was going to be a lot more mad than he actually was. And then Laura catches up with him, and then he's like not that mad.
Yeah, and that's when we get the kiss, actually. He's like, "I thought you hated me." "No, I don't hate you." It's very dramatic. Very dramatic.
Beautiful. And then again, Ellen is like an enforcer, and she forces Laura into taking a job at the art studio.
Yeah, and she tells Cassidy tells Wyatt, says it was something he says he says it was something I told myself so I wouldn't do this, and that's when he kisses, and he says it's not just a series of chemical reactions, it's so much more. Yeah, very, very romantic. I mean, so come romantic. On.
I just wish somebody would have said that to me in my life. Wow.
And I know, it's setting the bar very high. So and that's when she says that she's like, "I don't know, I have this thing about commitment." And he's like, "Well, what? Your parents are, dysfunctional?" "No, they're so great.
They're too
for 40 years. Like, what?" "I won't be the person to come between you and Susan." And
Susan sucks, girl. Like,
yeah, I think that this was a smart role for Cassidy to take, because for the most part she's up for it. But I think that when she tried to go sort of dramatic and was crying, it wasn't the best.
Is there a lot of money in doing a lot of Hallmark movies?
I have no idea. I honestly don't. I have no idea how much they're paid. Yeah, I mean, obviously, your Candace Cameron Bure's, your Lacey Chabert's, are going to make more, and your big name Christmas movies are going to be more.
But I feel like even if you did like 3 of these movies a year, like you're doing okay. Like I feel like you're doing enough, right? I don't know. I feel like
it seems
getting
like
in Hallmark movies is like a good career path.
It seems like it. I mean, they have to make it worth their while for people to do it. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to know how much they get paid. I honestly, I'm so curious about that, but I don't know. But anyway, and so she's very upset. She's crying. He's talking to his cat, and that's when Susan calls, but he totally ignores the call, and he basically is like practicing his goodbyes to Cassidy and how he's gonna leave. And he's like, "I just want you to know, I don't want to say goodbye." And that's right when Susan shows up, and she's like, "I left you a message yesterday."
You didn't even pick me up at the train station.
Yeah,
like you didn't text
for 3 days.
You didn't think to text and be like, "Hey, I'm coming to visit."
Yeah, and at this time, like you said earlier, she's Cassie's in the bathroom that they share, the hallway bathroom. So she comes out in a bathrobe, and it's all kinds of scandal. So, but Susan
dog is this? Because Spencer was lying to Susan this whole time, saying that the lodge, like the accident and the person staying with him was like some old man with a gross dog, and that they left. And then Susan shows up and sees this gross dog, and like it's not actually a gross dog; it's a super cute dog.
Yeah.
Still, I'd be pissed if I were Susan.
Well, but then Susan, she's like so judgy. It's hilarious. She's like, what is this? He's really let himself go. The fact that there's s'mores toppings, and then she's looking at the pizza, and she's like, what is going on?
And then they're like leaving, and I don't know if they're at the train station or something, and he's like, I'm hungry, I'm gonna get a piece of pizza, and she's like, pizza, and he's like, I'm hungry, and it's like,
it's like,
you have one piece of pizza.
It's like if he was eating nothing but like, I don't know, a gas station hot dogs or something
like he's not chowing down on 7-Eleven taquitos and like calling that a diet.
Yeah, how dare he?
Oh my god,
he's let himself go. He's lost cause.
And then but Laura finds herself drinking a green juice by herself and being like,
I know.
Oh, I miss Spencer. He makes a great green juice.
Yeah. And then she goes on another date with Tyler, and he's basically saying the same things that she had said earlier. She's like, I don't know where I'm going to be in 5 days. And she's like, oh no. And and she listens to Stardust. And then he gives his presentation, but it's not the same. He doesn't have that spirit of the...
I like that presentation didn't go well.
Yeah.
I thought that, like you said earlier with You've Got Mail with the bookstore closing, I like that he didn't end up getting that PhD.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, how could he? He's not with his love.
No,
he doesn't. The love of his life.
He wasn't presenting the chemistry that love takes in that.
Yeah.
So
it's gonna be a complete failure without her. I mean, we know this. So
and then there's this art show that apparently Laura planned in the last
so Ellen had
5 to 8 days.
Yeah, so it's been 2 weeks. So Ellen had her repaint the art studio for a special exhibit, and had her taking all these photos, inspired her. And did she steal her camera chip or what? And her parents end up coming. I forget how that ended up working. But so it turns out it's her exhibit of her work. She's the guest. And Ellen's like, you really should move here. You could work at the studio with me. It'll be amazing. So that's...
And she doesn't know how to tell her parents that she has to quit the accounting firm. Yeah. Well, don't you worry. Things have been made easy for her. Her parents come and say, at her art show, I feel like my parents would have waited until a moment that was not in public to tell me I was out of a job.
Yeah, they're just like, we're retiring. Congratulations.
We sold the accounting firm and we're going to go on vacation.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh.
I mean,
and she's like, they're like, don't worry. We put it aside like, I don't know, $60,000 to help you. She's like, oh, Mom and Dad, like, you've ruined me for love forever. How dare you? It's like, girl.
Because they know that anyone that gets bequeathed the life of a photographer is going to be happy with that. It's going to be a good life. That's
a money maker.
That's the dream.
It definitely doesn't all come to a crash around your feet. Oh, when there's a global pandemic, you can't photograph anything because you can't go outside.
I know. I mean, it's
a very stable career, I've heard.
It is. It's the dream life.
Right along with events and hospitality. Let me tell you that right here, right now.
Yes. And so she is going to be a photographer and is going to be super happy.
Mm-hmm.
And he fails his presentation, like you said. He breaks up with Susan, of course.
Great move.
And he shows up at the house, and he says, I need to do a new presentation. And there they are now on the wall. It's like it's like the wall of photos in Get Out, you know.
I didn't see it, but like I get it. That's exactly what this is. But and like somewhere along the way, I think when Laura's like at the art studio, she finds like a box of all these applications that are like clipped together, and her and Spencer's is one of them. And like at that point, you don't like put it down quietly and get out and never talk to this woman again. But no, you're like agreeing to work with her.
No, she's like, well, it didn't work this time. She's kind of annoyed, and
she's
Ellen's like, wait and see.
She's like, oh yeah, it didn't work this time, and not like, you could have set me up to be a murder victim. You took my personal information and messed around with it.
Yeah.
To like set me up. You don't know what I've been through. You don't know if like what if she was like, hey, this guy's cute, but like I'm a lesbian. Like I don't want to be with this guy.
Right. I mean, the things like that, you know, those don't. This is an alternate timeline where things like that don't exist.
I guess
there's no lesbians,
like murder or lesbians.
There's no murderers. There's no.
I'm fine with there being no murderers, but I feel like there should be at least a few lesbians.
I think so. Especially if you're going to be an artist, let's be real.
Yeah, like let's get a couple of lesbians in here. Have a great. That would make the movie so much better if Laura was like, "Oh, I thought we were just friends. I am a lesbian. I'm in love with my friend Rose, who like that's her problem throughout the movie. Like I'm so in love with my friend Rose, and now she's pregnant.
Yeah, well." That would be very unpredictable.
Call me Hallmark. Let's make a movie together.
Yes. So overall, I think this is a cute movie. I enjoy it. Like I said, I think it actually is pretty. It has a little bit of funny banter that you don't always see, and I think overall, it's just a sweet, funny little movie. But I don't think that they have like the best chemistry. If they had like better chemistry, I think that it would be. I would really, really like it. I would really enjoy it.
And if I could like forget like
how insane the premise is.
Ellen is. Yeah. I'm not even like the premise to me is like mistakes happen. Like this is not great.
Yeah.
But the fact that Ellen like purposely makes this happen is very uncomfortable to me. And it's very hard for me to push that aside. I get that this is a movie and like they're gonna fall in love, but as a perpetually anxious person, I'm not happy with Ellen's actions in this movie. First of all, she has privacy issues, obviously, because she basically ripped Laura's camera out of her hand to look at her pictures. She's like, well, let me see. And she's like, I never show anyone. She's like, you're showing me. Like, what if there is nudes on there?
Right. Again, this is an alternate timeline.
I guess so.
Where things like that don't exist.
True.
People don't take photos like that.
No, there's no nudes in that.
And so she can just be her little, matchmaker self and
what a creeper. Like I'm
people in their lives. But yeah, no, it's a total Dahmer versus Doppler thing. Like it totally is. And she it's really not that far out from being another House and Get Out. Like there are multiple families that are involved in that movie.
It's upsetting. Yeah, like, and she puts the photos on the wall. Like, what? What if a couple wanted to rent that? Did she say no to couples?
I
have a lot of questions. I just have so many questions. And
like she doesn't even care. But that's the thing, she doesn't even care. He is in a couple.
I guess so.
She doesn't even care. I mean, is she willing to break up marriages because she believes her powers are so strong?
And like, do you ever watch Are You the One?
I've heard of it, but no.
It's great. Definitely watch it.
Okay, good.
But they use like matchmakers to like match people. I guess that's the same for Married at First Sight too. But it's like, do I want to be matched up with somebody who has my exact interests? Or like, how does she know that in this instance opposites attract?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, but at least in Married at First Sight, they're willing participants in the match.
Great point. Excellent point. In all of those instances, people signed up for that. Nobody signed up for this. This is twisted. This is sick and twisted of Ellen. She is an insane person and belongs in jail 100%.
So we have some Twitter comments, just a few, about the movie. So there is so Terry Wilson gave a comment of it's adorable. She's an author and she's done a bunch of novelizations, but there is a novelization of this book by Alexis Stanton. Of this movie by Alexis Stanton. And so, yeah, if you want to learn more about this story, if you want to dive in further, then there's a novelization available.
I do want to do that. I am mind blown.
Yeah.
I'm mind blown that people take these movies and make them into. That's amazing work. I'm going to do. That's amazing.
We'll have your review when you finish it. Come back on the podcast.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Where do I find it again?
So you can find it on Amazon. We'll put a link in the description. Like Cats and Dogs. It's a novelization of the movie by Alexis Stanton from Hallmark Publishing.
Hallmark has their own publishers.
Yeah, they sure do.
This is amazing.
Yeah. And so then we also have Georgia, our good friend. She says, it's ridiculous and I love it. And then Trisha says, I love it. It's so cute. It's one of my favorite Hallmark movies. So there we go. About Like Cats and Dogs. Out of 5 crowns, how many crowns would you give Like Cats and Dogs?
I'm sorry. I got to do 2.5.
Okay. Yeah.
There was some aspects of the movie I did enjoy. I love a rom-com. I did feel like they lacked chemistry, and it's very hard for me to get around Ellen's misgivings.
Yeah.
That torturous woman.
To me, I kind of look at her as sort of like a scheming matchmaker Santa that you see at Christmas. That's basically what
either way, I don't want her in my home.
She knows, like Santa knows.
Sure.
She knows.
I guess so.
Yeah, and so there
Maybe
you go.
Maybe she's like an angel.
It could be. She could be a guardian angel.
Okay, so is this book going to be a part of a series? Like, can I read the next?
her next set of matches?
Yeah.
I wish it was. But I would probably give it a 3.25. I do wish they had better chemistry, but I think the writing's pretty fun.
I wanted more kissing, I think.
Yeah. I mean, we got a lot for a Hallmark movie.
I'm assuming Hallmark movies don't really get into like the nitty gritty.
It's a fun one. I certainly had fun talking about it with you. And so let us know if you're listening what you think of Like Cats and Dogs. Would you want to be set up by Ellen?
No, never.
Would you?
No. Would I want to hang out in a house with a hot guy and his cat? Yes. Would I want that to be actually set up by somebody?
Yeah.
No. Please never.
Okay.
I'm sure my live-in boyfriend would not appreciate me going on an intercourse vacation, but like...
Let us know what
do
you
I care?
think,
it's just a dissertation, right?
Yeah, the chemistry of love. So let us know what you think of this one. We had so much fun. I had a great time talking with you about this. So thank you, and talking about Survivor. If you have any thoughts about Survivor, put in the comment section or on Twitter. Let's talk about it, and let's talk about this movie, Matt Elrod / Wyatt Nash. Mm-hmm. And if you have any other suggestions of anything else you'd like Haley and I to talk about, any other movies, let us know.
Yeah, like I'm all in. Like call me anytime. I had a great time again.
Was really fun. And so how can people follow you, your podcasts on Twitter, all that fun stuff?
You can find, if you like the sound of my voice and you'd like to continue listening to it, you can catch me on the Rob Has Podcast Network. I talk about Top Chef, which is a genuinely good show, and The Bachelor, which is a genuinely not good show. So it's a real tale of two cities there. Again, subscribe to the Reality TV Rehab the feed. You'll get both those podcasts. You can read my blog, strongtakes.ca. I talk about what I watch, what I read in the month. Now in quarantine, what I've been making. I like food a lot, and I like talking about food. Mm-hmm. So I do all of that, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @strong_.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. I am going this weekend, so it'll be last weekend when this airs. I'm going to go see the new version of Valley Girl at the drive-in. So I'm super excited about that. And so you'll have that review and lots of other fun stuff over on my content. So check it out. And make sure you're following the podcast over at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media, and on iTunes and YouTube. And if you're listening on iTunes, please leave us your ratings and reviews. We appreciate that so much. Also, if you are watching on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. That means so much to us as well. We have our merch store, which has new masks, which are pretty amazing, designed by artist Jessica Miller. And we also have our Patreon group, which has so much fun talking about whatever you guys want to talk about. And we did our live movie watch this a couple of weeks ago, which was so fun, and we're going to do it again. So lots of fun stuff over our Patreon page. All that is in the description section, so check it out. Thank you so much, Haley. This was so much fun, and we'll talk to you again.
Thank you for having me again.
Bye, everyone.